why the topic is how to be highly effective, and I'm focusing on knowledge. This is precisely knowledge 4. Knowledge is so important that there is nothing you can do without knowledge. But the difference here is the knowledge you have about yourself. Knowledge is not about what you know about other things, but the knowledge you have about yourself. So the knowledge you have about yourself is what makes you great. So the question is, what kind of knowledge do you have about yourself? How do you perceive yourself? A lot of people have knowledge. They can tell you the stars, the distance between one star from the other. They can tell you the distance from here to the moon, do everything, but they do not have knowledge about themselves. So what kind of knowledge do you have about yourself? Because the knowledge you have about yourself is the one that makes you to move. Because the knowledge the world gives you about you it runs counter to what you have about yourself. So what kind of knowledge do you have about yourself? If you have, like I do tell people, say, look, nobody is created poor. Nobody is created poor, and nobody is poor, but it is the social environment that tells you you are poor. And that is the knowledge you have about yourself. So the key thing is, it's not the knowledge, but what kind of knowledge, do you have about yourself? Do you have the knowledge of the truth about yourself? So the social environment, placed you in a poor area, in a poor environment, and they flash it on your face every day that you are poor, but you believe it, and you begin to fulfill that information you have about yourself. So the information you have about yourself is wrong, and that is what many people fly with. That is why I'm spending time to say, what kind of information do you have about yourself? For instance, one of the greatest men that ever lived, David, the information his father had about him and the information the brother, had about him, they were wrong. So the father did not know that David was a king. The brothers did not know that David was a king. But David had information about himself, which the brothers and the father didn't know. Now, if you read Psalm, that is where David poured out his mind. He says, I'm wonderfully made. So from that statement, it's not a statement that is coming from a victim or coming from somebody who doesn't know him. It's a statement that is unique, that is coming from somebody who understood who he is. So the thing is, what kind of information do you have? So David had a different information about himself. The world had a different information about David. But David knew himself. He knew he was a king. He knew he was wonderfully made. And that was why he adopted the character he adopted. It was said that among all the people that lived in Israel within the time of David, it was only David that had a relationship with God. So out of the millions, they didn't have a relationship with God. It was David that had a relationship with God. And his relationship with God made him to understand that he was wonderfully made, whole and complete, and lacked nothing. So that is the information. That is why I am saying knowledge is very, very important. Because if you have knowledge, you will never be poor. If you have knowledge, there is no problem you can't solve. because knowledge is the key. That's why they say seek knowledge, because seeking knowledge will help you to know about yourself, will help you to solve the problem. Now, the knowledge, because we are the reflection, we reflect the kind of knowledge we possess. Just like a tree, the tree, brings it out from the root, from what it already has underneath. So the same way you produce based on what you already have, which is invisible and which comes in form of information or knowledge. And that knowledge is about you. So what kind of information do you have about yourself? The information you have about yourself, is it the same one your classmates have about you? Is it the same thing your brothers, your father, or your relatives, or the people have about you? If it is that information, that is incorrect. That is not the right one. That means you don't have knowledge about yourself. Because knowledge is so important that if you have the right one, the one about you, you become immovable. You become unwavering, and you become persistent. So, because what gives you the confidence is the knowledge, the information you have about yourself. Because the world has projected a negative information about you, which is incorrect, and you've absorbed it, taken it up and grown with it. And then that is what you are reflecting. You are living it there. That's why it's difficult for you to fulfill your dream. That's why it's difficult for you, to achieve something, because you don't have knowledge. Because once you have knowledge, then you will begin to have understanding. And once you have understanding, then doing it becomes easy. That if you have understanding, it is as good as being done. So the knowledge you have about yourself is critical at this moment. Now, this is a time that human beings, have been fortified. They've been given a lot of access, platform, opportunities. As you can see, I'm speaking from my own room today. I'm broadcasting to billions of people. It's because of information and knowledge that we've been able to conquer, the difficulties we have in broadcasting information. So now the knowledge is very, very important. I meet people, they confess to me they are poor. I tell them, where did you get this information? How come you were able to how did you get this information? Are you not aware that you got everything? Are you not aware that first of all you were made a spirit before the flesh came in to cover you? So in that statement, that will tell you that you are reflecting who created you. You are a reflection of the creator. And the spirit God left inside of you is not of poverty. It is that of abundance. So you have to reflect, your roots. You have to reflect your background. I just ask people, what is your environment? Some people say, it's my house, it is this. I said, environment is that of God. So if you don't have this knowledge about yourself, then how can you move mountains? How can you tap into your potentials? How can you, live, within the power you possess? Now, how can you now interpret things you see on your way if you don't have knowledge about yourself? The critical thing is, what kind of knowledge do you have about yourself? Do you have a knowledge, that makes you to feel that you are a victim, that makes you to feel that you are weak, that makes you to feel that you're not strong? So whichever way, the knowledge you have about yourself will tell you where you can go, tells you about your vision, tells you your capacity. That is why people say, Henry Ford said, if you say you can't do it, you are right, you are perfect. But if you say you can do it, you are all right, you are perfect. So if you have a negative information or knowledge about yourself, it is very difficult for you to have confidence and courage. You can't have the boldness to pursue your dream. You might try to do something, but you will give in. You know, you want to do better things, but you haven't got the courage, no passion. Sometimes it happens to me, equally. Sometimes I want to do this video, but it looks, I lack the passion, I lack the courage. But because I have information about myself, that information I have about myself overrides the information that my colleagues and my friends and my parents, say about me. So the knowledge or information you have about yourself overrides everything. Imagine David was seen as a rowdy, somebody dirty, that is in charge of a sheep in the forest, in the wood. So that is the information the word gave David. And probably that was the information the father had, because when Samuel came, Samuel told Jesse, can you bring out all your children? Jesse brought all his children and forgot David that was taking care of the sheep in the wood. Imagine, how can you forget your son? That means to you that your son wasn't a relevant person. Imagine a president is coming to your house to say he wants to see all your children. You didn't inform one of your children. David was the king and was like a president coming to visit Jesse. But Jesse couldn't inform David. So when he was asked to bring out all his children, he forgot David. So the information the father or the parents, the information the father had about him was useless one, the one that's in charge of sheep, it's not because probably he knew, Jesse knew that that Samuel was going to do selection. So for him, David wasn't worthy of that selection. And for him, David was a forgotten person. So this is information, this is knowledge probably people have about you. Imagine David were to have the same information or knowledge about himself. That means David wouldn't have conquered Goliath. Now here is the one who was a king, was thrown away, rejected. He wasn't even mentioned before his own father that he was one of the important ones, because Samuel was coming there to select the one to be the king. So from Jesse's mindset, or from Jesse's thinking, David wasn't the one. Then he should remain in the forest and be taking care of the sheep. So when Samuel came, Samuel told him, where are all your children? He brought them. And Samuel conducted conducted the ritual, whatever God told him to do, to know the one who's going to be king. He went through all of them, and there was nothing. Then Samuel has to ask God, you said there's a king here, and I couldn't see any. That was the time Samuel told Jesse, are these only your children? Oh, it was that time that Jesse, I still have the one. That's when there's one of them, the younger one, David. Samuel said, rush and get him. So Jesse had to send for David. And when David came, David was the one that was the king. That is the way it happens. David was the one that was to be a king because he had a relationship with God. So that very day, Samuel anointed David. That's it. So The information people have about you is completely irrelevant. The information your classmates have about you is completely irrelevant. What they put in the CV or they say about you is completely irrelevant. That's why I'm saying, what kind of information do you have about yourself? Because if you have a negative information about yourself, you can't move mountain. You can't take up any challenge. You can't contemplate an action and carry it out. You can only carry out a negative action, but you cannot carry out a positive action. You cannot embark on your vision. So the key thing is, what information do you have about yourself? If you have information about yourself as a pauper, as a weak, then you must be stupid. It's not that you are ignorant, you must be stupid. Because the information you have about yourself is the one you live out. So if you don't have a solid information, if you don't have the truth about yourself, then it becomes difficult even to have the truth about other things. Even the knowledge you acquire in the school, becomes important, because that's why you see people, they have Harvard degree, they can't do anything. They are professors, they can't do anything. They have the whole money, they can't do anything. Because the information they have about themselves, the knowledge they have about themselves is a poor one. Is one that is not the truth. So because we reflect, we reflect the information, the knowledge we have about ourselves. If you don't know that you are rooted in God, then you'll be spitting out nonsense. That is why people can take gun and kill other people, because the information they have about themselves is not about God. Now, because we are supposed to be reflecting the God in us. So if you have information about yourself that you are a child of God, you are a son of God, that means you are a daughter of God. When I mean a son, I mean both male and female. When I say man, I mean male and female, because every female has a man in her. We all have a man, which is the Spirit of God inside of us. So now we have to reflect our roots. We have to reflect who we are. Remember, there was a time Jesus Christ told them, now, if you say you are a child of Abraham, you would have known me, because Abraham knew me. Abraham spoke all about me. So they were not living up to the expectation. They were not effective. They were not thinking in a proper way. So it is all about the information you have about yourself. Now, if you have a wrong information about yourself, you'll be living a wrong life. You'll be living out a wrong life. You can't live your dream. Even if you are put in a White House, it's counterproductive. Even if you possess the whole money in the universe, it's useless. So that is why, if you know the information about yourself, that God has made you God, then nobody can say you are poor. You will see poverty as opportunity. I was going through something one doctor said. He said, look, that he prefers to be poor among the rich than to be rich among the poor. It doesn't make sense, but if you look at it critically, you will understand where he's coming from. Because he was saying that poverty does not exist. It is the figment of the imagination. So because if you believe you are rich among the poor, then you are not rich. Because you need to change whoever is around you. If you are actually rich, everybody around you is rich. If you are wealthy, everybody around you is wealthy. So now, so because when you don't understand these things, then that means if you are rich, that means you haven't got the process. You can't go through the process to become successful. So there is nothing like poverty. Poverty is like is a construct. You know, social environment gave you. There's nobody. Everybody possesses the same spirit God possesses. You possess the same spirit God possesses. I possess it. Unless you have information about it, you cannot, take advantage of it. You'll be seeing yourself as poor. You'll be seeing yourself as a victim. Most people see themselves as a victim. That is why we are talking about Black Lives Matter. Why should we be talking about Black Lives Matter? It's been counterproductive. Because who can tell you you don't matter? Everybody matters. Everybody is important. So there is nobody that is insignificant. So going about saying better, Black Lives Matter is like you are accepting, mediocrity. You are accepting poverty. You are accepting, you understand? So you that is meant to control the world, God has given you the key to the world, and you are saying you matter again. What kind of statements are you making about that? So you are a child of God. God has given you the whole universe. You have a key to the whole universe. And then you are acting like a slave. You are acting like a child in the whole big world. It's because of the information you have about yourself. It's because of the knowledge you have about yourself. What manner of knowledge do you have about? If you know that you possess the same Holy Spirit, the same Spirit God possesses, then you begin to look at things in a different way. You now begin to see challenge as opportunity. When people say you are poor, you are rich. When people say you are weak, you are strong, because you possess the same Spirit God possesses. So this is who you are. That's why you are stronger than you thought. So the information you have about yourself will give you the audacity, will give you the boldness to pursue your vision, will give you the boldness to be great, will explain things for you. No, so the information you have about yourself is like the DNA. That is what you're gonna live to grow about. You can't have information about yourself as being a child of God and then you'll be living poor. You'll be living in a squalor. You'll be living in penury and suffering. No. You got to change the information. Because once you have the knowledge, your attitude changes. Your attitude to yourself, the attitude to people, your attitude to everybody. You start, taking care of yourself. But once you don't have a knowledge that you are a child of God, you are a king, because God has made you a king in this earth, then you'll be living like a poor person. You'll be living like a weak person. You cannot be strong. You can't contemplate action and carry it. You don't know about vision. You don't know your vision is important. You cannot interpret things you see. Like when you see a seed, what kind of interpretation do you get about it? When you see, things on your way, how do you interpret it? So it is your information you have about yourself, or knowledge you have about yourself, that helps you to give you the perception, that helps you to give you the perspective that is solid as rock. Because we have to reflect, the God in us, to manifest the God in us. See, I talk about these things every day. It's not because I chose to do that. It's because I want to reflect who I am. I know, look at, for instance, now, God, gives rain to everybody. Isn't it? Both the good and the bad. God gives rain to them. What is that telling you? The trees, they give out their fruits, even though you don't like it or you don't want, they give it out. So everything functions based on the information and the DNA it possesses. So we have to reflect the light inside of us. Look at a diamond now. If you flash a light on it, it reflects that light. So the same way you are supposed to reflect the light, because if you don't know these things, it's very, very important. It's not gonna be, you're not gonna achieve your aims and you're not gonna achieve your goals, because you've been told. I don't know how you're gonna say it again. You've been told you are the light of the world. That means you have the knowledge that will save the world. You are the light of the world. That means you are the one to solve the world's problem. So how can somebody who is to solve a problem becomes a problem himself? You know, you are the one to solve the world problem. So now how do you then become a problem yourself? Somebody has to talk to you every day. Somebody has to walk you around every day like a child. But behold, you are the light of the world. That is information. That is knowledge. A knowledge that says you are the light of the world means you are the one that to solve the world's problem. And then the one to solve the world's problem, when the problem comes, you start running. When challenge comes, you start running. But you are the one you are the light, a salt of the earth. You are like a yeast in the dough. See, a seed, you are like a mustard seed. These are information. These are knowledge you should have about yourself. And this knowledge you have about yourself will give you the audacity, the boldness, and the courage to get things done. This information you have about yourself will give you the courage so that you don't become a victim in this wide world. Why must you be a victim in a wide world? A world you've been created to take control of. A world you've been created, you've been empowered, you've been tapped to be in control. And the world is not controlling you. What a disaster. It's because of the information you have about yourself. It's because of the knowledge you have about yourself. I used to have a poor knowledge of myself, but after a time, to be honest, when I was growing up, I knew who I was. So there was no need for somebody to tell me the negative. Some people tell me negative things, but I try to shut them off. So because once you are born, you got to understand who you are, and the information you have about who you are overrides the other information people have about you, the knowledge they have about you. So because of that, then you can now be bold and say, look at what I want to achieve in life. Look at how I'm going to do it. And then you continue to do it because you know that you are God in two legs. There was a time God told Moses, you have everything. What is it that is in your hand? What is it that is in your hand? So information about yourself is critical. Now, there was a story of a woman Jesus Christ told in the Bible. Now, this woman was maltreated, he was tormented, he was intimidated, she was harassed, and she was having challenges. People were oppressing her. Now, she went to a judge, to seek, power for people to stop intimidating her, stop oppressing her. Somebody was on her neck. Because she knew about herself, that was why she was persistent. Because she went to this judge, she knew her rights. She knew that she should have her full rights. So she went to the judge, and the judge to to dispense the judgment, for the judge to, to allow the justice to reign. Even though the judge was withholding it, because she knew the information about herself, she kept on going, kept on going, kept on going, kept on going. Until one day, this wicked and cruel judge decided to say, look, this woman is on my neck. She will kill me. No, I'm going to take over her case today. Immediately, he gave order, and the order had to deal with the people who were tormenting the woman and were oppressing. So the information you have about yourself is obtained that will make you to be persistent. The information you have about yourself is the one that will make you courageous, that will give you the boldness. So look at now, the woman illustrates what leadership is all about. A leader is one who has information about himself or about herself. The woman in the Bible knew herself. She had information about herself. So she knew her rights. And because she knew her rights, she pressured the judge to dispense the justice. So the same way applies to you. So if you know your rights, you should pressure your leaders to release the justice. No? So if you know your rights, you will mandate your leaders, whoever that is in control of your country or your state or your local government, you will mandate him or her to exercise the justice, to exercise the law the way it is. It is not a matter of I know you. It's not a matter of going to beg. It's your right. It's your full right. The reason we don't pursue things is because we don't know our full right. Now, imagine somebody had a father, a wealthy father, and the father died, leaving a lot of money and the estate for the child. And the child didn't know about it. Now, because the child didn't know about the wealth, now he will be going about begging, in fact, going to the man who already possessed the wealth of the father and begging the man to give him even the crumb. Now, your father had the whole estate, had a lot of money, but maybe your father died and handed the thing over, kept it to the bank, or handed it over to somebody to be looking after it for you till when you grow. Because you don't have this information, you go to this man every day, you go and beg, can you give me 20p so that I can eat? And the man will give you 20p. So, can you help me to transport this? The man will help you. Now, you'll be begging, isn't it? You'll be begging. Now, here is a child who has the whole estate, who has the whole money. But the child doesn't have this information that the wealth and everything belong to him. Now, so you'll be begging the same way the same way applies to us. Now, I have to tell my president, if it's Buhari, to give me scholarship. Why should I be doing that? I have to beg somebody who is my local government chairman, to provide the road along my house. This is completely nonsense. The reason why we beg is that we don't have information about ourselves. So the child who didn't know that the father owned the whole estate and owned the whole money in the bank will be going to the bank to beg them. And they will be giving the child, the crumbs. But if the child knows that the wealth, the estate belongs to him, when he goes in there, he will be persistent. He will be asking it. The child will have the boldness and the courage to insist that the person who is in possession of his wealth to give it to him. So this is the same thing that applies to us. Because we don't know who we are, we don't know that we should assume full right of our citizenship and demand that our full right should be given to us in your own state, in your own local government, and in your own country. So the knowledge you have about yourself determines your confidence. It determines how bold you are. It determines the way you do things. It determines your attitude to other people. Now, if I'm demanding that myself, I came from Nigeria, that we are supposed to have electricity, we are supposed to have roads, then if I know that I'm a citizen of Nigeria, then I have to persist and continue to persist till I get it. But if I don't have information, I will just go and come back, and I will never have it. Because I do not know that I am a citizen. And because I'm a citizen, the full right should be given to me, because that is my birthright. So the information you have about yourself determines the intensity, the clarity, the confidence you use in pursuing what you are pursuing. Now, if you know that you are a child of God, it is your birthright to have wealth. It is your birthright to live in abundance, because your Father has already provided these things for you. And why is it that you are not having it? Somebody somehow is holding it. That is what we're talking about. So, one moment. The information, the woman that went after the judge was a great leader. She knew her rights. She knew that she should assume her full citizenship. So that was why she had the courage to go to meet the most wicked ruler that ever existed, demanding that she should be given her basic right, not even her full right as a citizen. Now, as a citizen, she wasn't supposed to be intimidated. She wasn't supposed to be molested. She wasn't supposed to be harassed. And she wasn't supposed to live in penury and poverty. But these things were coming around her. She said, now that I know who I am a citizen. So I have to go and demand my full citizen's right. I have to demand it full, not half. The reason why we put up with penury and poverty and, stupidity and timidity is because we don't know who we are. So the woman, even though, remember they said the judge had no respect for any human being and had no respect for God. Now, for you to go to a house of somebody who had no respect for God, who had no respect for a human being, that was the most wicked ruler that ever existed. And that ruler was so wicked and so, so intimidated that you can't go to go and meet the ruler. Yet this woman had the audacity, the boldness, and the courage to walk into the man's castle and say, look, today I need my full right. Now, if she didn't know her right, if the judge, first day the judge refused. Second day the judge refused. The judge kept on refusing and kept telling. But because the woman knew her full right, she knew that she shouldn't be molested or oppressed. She kept on going because that is her birthright. So the way you pursue things determines the knowledge you have. Your knowledge determines how you pursue things. If I know that this house is my father's house, there is no way you can stop me from taking it. It belongs to me. As far as I'm living, this is my father's house. I must have it. So there is no need to give me a corridor to sleep. There's no need to just give me a hut to sleep. I have to go into my father's house because it is my right. It is my, it is as a son of that man or as a daughter of that man. That is my house. That is my birthright. So the reason why we're putting up with mediocrity and stupidity is because we don't know that we are the children of God. We have to demand our full citizenship. We have to demand our full right. So look at now, I'm from Nigeria. Now, I am begging for me to go back to Nigeria. Why? I am from Nigeria. And I can't say I have any right. So, but as soon as I get knowledge that I am a citizen of that country, so that knowledge forces me to demand that I am entitled to whatever the president is entitled to, because I am a citizen. If the president is entitled to a good hospital, I'm also entitled to a good hospital. If the president is entitled for a car, I'm also entitled to a car. I'm entitled to a house. So what is wrong in me asking for my full right? The same thing applies to every other thing. Why are we saying Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter is a stupid agenda. Because the world belongs to you. And somebody is telling you that you should have half of it. Why? My father has the house. And then somebody saying that I should go and stay in the boys' quarter. Why will I stay in the boys' quarter? In my own father's house. Why will I stay in the boys' quarter? Because my father's house is my birthright. I need the full right. So you cannot be having possession of my father's property and then you cast me away and I'm living in poverty and penury. And then you say I should accept it. For what reason will I accept that? You understand? You have the wealth of the child and you are giving him 20p. You are giving him food that belongs to the dog. You are a king and you are living like a poor person. That's why we are saying there's nobody that's a poor on this earth. Because this earth, God created it and gave it to all his children. And you are a king, you are a queen here. So you should not allow anybody to, shortchange you in any manner. You shouldn't allow anybody to tell you, look, you are poor, you belong to the gutters, you belong to the ghetto. You shouldn't accept that. Because the same rights the Queen Elizabeth has on earth is the same right I have. The same rights whoever has on earth, the same right. We all came to the world the same way. Everybody is a child of God. So you cannot be begging people for you to live. So Black Lives Matter is like a child of a king begging to live like a poor person in the kingdom. So how can Black Lives Matter is not supposed to be said in the it's a shameful thing that somebody should be asking another person to give him his right when we have the same equal right. So a black man or an African cannot be asking for his own right. For what? Who has it? The person has it. Does he have 200 legs? Is just a human being born the same way I'm born. We are gifted equally. So why should you take a right that belongs to everybody and put it in your pocket and then you'll be begging them to have it? Say Black Lives Matter. For goodness sake, why it is so demeaning. You understand? It's so, you are shortchanging yourself by going to say Black Lives Matter. You are supposed to live like a king on earth and you are telling me Black Lives Matter. You should take up your own full rights. You should take up your own, justice. Don't tell me Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is you are shortchanging yourself. It's like you are being naive. You know, it's like calling yourself a slave in the world. How can you, that is gifted by God, God has made you a God, and you are living like a rat in one junk, and you know, looking like a rat that's, you know, under the influence of a beam of light, and you are taking Black Lives Matter. Who are you telling Black Lives Matter? The person you are telling Black Lives Matter, is the person God? No. The person is a human being like you and I. It's just because he was wicked and he has taught you that you should stay in a crumble. You should stay and eat from the crumble. So the knowledge you have about yourself will change your attitude. The knowledge you have about yourself will change how you pursue your dream. The knowledge you have about yourself will influence how you pursue your purpose. The reason why people don't pursue their purpose is because they believe that they are like animal. You come here, you die, and that's it. And that's good. So the knowledge we have about ourselves is critical at this point. Because if I have the knowledge about myself, I won't be singing Black Lives Matter. I'll be living like a king here. So who do I have to go and take permission in order to live on earth? You don't need permission to live on earth, because that is a will, that is a mandate from God, who is the creator of the world. He has given you the mandate to possess the earth. And then you are saying you don't want to possess it, and because of that you are singing Black Lives Matter. That is the most stupid and the most ignorant thing people are doing. Telling me Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter for what? In a place, in a world, you've been given the mandate to take control of. You've been given the mandate to engage, to inspire, to move, and to change. And you are singing to my ear that Black Lives Matter. It's nonsense. The person you are begging to give you a right, how did he get your own right? How did it seize your right? You should take it away from him. You have my father's house and you are telling me go and to live in the boys' quarter. I will not do it. I have to walk straight into my father's house because that is my right. That is my full right. So we have to change our attitude because we've been given full right. So as a citizen, I have a right to live. As a citizen, I demand a full right. That was why the woman was hell-bent on asking the stupid and the wicked ruler that her justice should be given to her. That she has a right. She has, her full right should be given to her. So the knowledge is important. Because that's why God said, my people perish for lack of knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, you will think you are poor. If you don't have knowledge, you think you can't solve your problem. If you don't have knowledge, you will think you are weak. You are God. God has given you the same power, the same spirit he possesses. He has given you the Holy Spirit, the same spirit he possesses. And you are telling us. That was why when he met Moses, he told Moses, what is it in your hand? Can you use the staff in your hand for goodness sake? God is telling you, can you, for goodness sake, use your gift? Stop singing Black Lives Matter. Stop singing Black Lives Matter. Can you please use your gift? Your gift is where your dominion is. And you are singing Black Lives Matter every day to people's ear. Who are you begging from? Is it the same person that came to the world the same way you came from? Because you've allowed them to brainwash you, to make you to believe that you are a slave in the world. How can you be a slave in this world? A world your father has given to you to possess. Oh my God. This is shameful. You are being shortchanged. Like there's something Taiwan said, It is easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. It is easier to be barely singing Black Lives Matter than to take responsibility and say, look, I have already assumed my full right. So it is easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. So we've been duped. So when you're singing Black Lives Matter, I want you to understand you've been duped. You're not supposed to be singing that. You're not supposed to be shortchanged. You're supposed to be bold and courageous and don't be singing about that. You know, you are reducing yourself. You are devaluing yourself by singing Black Lives Matter. Use your gifts. If you know how to speak, start speaking. That's why I'm speaking every day. So that people who don't have the light should know the light. That, look, you are not supposed to be begging anybody. You are not supposed to be begging Europeans for anything, because the same power they have, the same power you have. The same mandate they have, the same mandate you have. So why will you accept to be a slave? Why will you accept to be a singing Black Lives Matter? So that is the Christ. This is the most critical thing that I've ever said in my life. So we are children of God. The information, the knowledge we have is that God made us in his own image. That means we possess the same power God possesses. And God has said to you, now you are my child. I want you to have dominion on earth. Because already I have dominion in heaven. Now, the earth is the place you have to manifest yourself. Here you are living, now you are living. It is the place you have to manifest yourself. It is manifestation is to show the kind of spirit you possess. You have to demonstrate you possess God and reflect that through your attitude, through the way you talk, the way you walk, and the way you behave. We are children of God. So that is the mandate. And he has given us the full right. Now we are useless in heaven. Honestly, if you are thinking of going to heaven, you are going to be useless there because God is already there. But where you are supposed to be effective and active and to manifest God is here. So don't let the earth, don't let the time you already have to slip from your fingers. Here, look at now. The stars shines in the night. Do you see the star shine during the day? No. The stars only shine in the night. Now, the earth is the night. This is the time to shine. So, don't keep quiet. Don't be ashamed. People who say you should be ashamed are people who don't understand, who don't have knowledge about themselves. The reason why we are keeping quiet about things is because we don't have knowledge about ourselves. So if I have knowledge that God has made me God, that God has given me the mandate, so why will I keep quiet and I see the evil things going every day? Don't you know that what you allow, you cannot criticize. You are responsible for. If I allow evil things to persist, that means I am responsible for it. What you allow, you cannot criticize. You are responsible for. What you avoid, you cannot engage. So these things are important. God has said, look, you are the light of the world. That means you are the key. You are the answer to human problem. You are the light of the world means you are the answer to human problems. So why are you singing Black Lives Matter? Tell me. I have a question for you. If you are the light means you answer to a problem. Then why are you singing Black Lives Matter? You are not supposed to be singing Black Lives Matter. What you're supposed to do is use the gift and change things. If you know how to run, start running. If you know how to write, start writing. If you know how to fly, start flying. If you know how to crawl, start crawling. If you know how to sing, start singing. If you know how to build aircraft, start building it. If you know how to launch yourself in the moon, start launching yourself. If you know how to speak, just start speaking. be committed to it. Start speaking. Don't keep silent. Don't be timid. Don't be intimidated. Start doing it. Start doing it because you are the light of the world. This is the time you have the opportunity. A yeast is useless outside the door. A human being is useless outside the earth. So if you allow the 90 years you have to pass through without you imparting the word, you are a foolish person. You've made a mistake. So you are the light of the world. That means you are the answer to the world problem. Therefore, you shouldn't be a servant. You shouldn't be a slave. You ought to be serving your gifts. When Jesus Christ was asked, who is the greatest man on earth? Who is the greatest human being? He said, it's the one that serves. It's the servant, the people who serve. So what it means is that it's not like you're a servant, or it's like serving your gift. As I am talking now, I'm serving my gift. Because the knowledge I have to say it out. So I have to keep on serving my gift. Look at the tree. The tree keeps on producing its fruits and producing its fruits every day. Whether you like it or not, it's producing the same way. Whether you like what I'm saying, I'll keep on saying it. Because my gift is not for me. My gift is for others. So is also your gift. So I have to adopt the attitude of somebody to serve in order to give it to out. If I adopt attitude of pride, I won't serve my gift. Then I spend 90 years, after that I die, and that's it. Now is the time. You are already in the universe. You're lucky to be here. Since you are here, the star shines in the night. The earth is where you shine. It's not in heaven. Forget about people who are talking about heaven. Heaven is not meant for human beings to go and shine. It is here on earth. The things that is created, the information God created tells us that here is where we shine. The yeast is useless outside the door. That is a metaphor. It has more to tell you. If you remove the yeast is just tiny and fragile. But put it inside the dough, it blows the dough up. It makes the dough blow, and then you can eat your bread. So you might look fragile, but once you go into their gift, man, you are like tiger and lion. You are powerful. So once you go to your area of gifting, then you become a great person. You become the greatest. Muhammad Ali said, I'm the greatest. Why? Because he is in his own field. So if you find your field, you are the greatest there. So you have to keep on serving your gift, because the greatest person is the person who serves his gift. It's not the person who listens to people. It's the person who serves his gift. Because if you are listening to people, you won't serve your gift. If I'm listening to people, I won't say this thing I'm saying on the Facebook. They will say, oh, I'm talking too much. Oh, every day I'm talking. But I'm serving my gift. So, because God has given me that opportunity, has given me that gift, I have to say it. I can't just because of people who are feeling insecure, because of their insecurity, then I will not become myself. The information I have about myself does not say I should keep quiet. The information I have about myself says I should speak. I should speak up. I should be bold and courageous and speak it up. Speak up. So the important thing is the information you have about yourself. The information you have about yourself is very critical. I'm not going to tell you because you only know the information I have about yourself. But what I know is that a human being is created in the image of God. That means we act like God because we are children of God. My children act like me because they are my children. So that is a metaphor. So we are in a larger, we are the children of God. We should be acting like God. We shouldn't allow sin to overshadow us. We shouldn't allow gullibility and greed to take control of our life, to run our life. We shouldn't allow fear to run our life. Why are you afraid? Afraid of what? You have 100 years here. And that 100 years goes quickly. That 100 years will go quickly. So if you don't know, by the time you're now 60, 70, and that's it. So start using your gift now in your life. Because this is where you have to show that God lives in you. That's why Nelson Mandela said, look, we are like children. We have to manifest, the God in us. That we shouldn't, because of the insecurity of other people, fail to manifest who we are. We shouldn't be, because of insecurity of people, start shrinking. Because what I'm going to say is going to affect you, then I wouldn't say it. Because I'm serving my gift. So don't allow the insecurity of other people to stop you from speaking. Don't allow the insecurity of people to stop you from dreaming or living your dream. Because if you get the information of who you are, that is who you are. So you don't need any glowing acolyte to tell you. God has left Holy Spirit inside of you. You are 100% God. Full inside of you. But fear wouldn't let you. Fear wouldn't let you come out. Fear of what? Fear of who? Nothing. Because you want to say the right thing and you're afraid. You shouldn't allow fear. Fear itself is a motivator. Because of fear, you can change. Fear is like electricity. If you use the electricity in the wrong way, it will electrocute you. If you use electricity in the right way, you soar, you flourish, you have abundance. So is every other thing. So the knowledge is like electricity. If you don't use it, it kills you. But if you use it properly, you soar to the sky. You become a giant. And the world will start making a bidding path to your door. So don't shrink. Don't be afraid. Don't be depressed in this world. God has never been ruled. Don't allow anybody to rule over you. God has never been ruled over before. Do not allow anybody to rule over you. So, Black Lives Matter is ended there. You shouldn't be singing that. By singing that, you allow another human being to rule over you. No one shall rule over you. God has never been oppressed before. You should not allow any human being to oppress you, regardless of any situation. God has never been depressed before. You shouldn't be depressed in this wide world because there are so many things you can do. You can run. You can be a boxer. You can be a fighter. You can be a pilot. You can be an engineer. You can be a speaker. You can be, you can be a doctor. You can be an artist. You can be a singer. You can be anything. So why are you depressed? Everybody has a talent. You can be a reader. You can be a writer. You can write 100 books, billions of books. So why are you depressed? You can be an artist. Start drawing. Because by the time you keep on drawing, after like a time, you become a genius in it, and you become, an authority in it, and the world will start making a bidding path to your door. They come in and knock. Even though you live in a jungle, what the world call a jungle, they come here and knock you. Oh, sir, we want to see you. Oh, my madam or miss, I want to see you. You're a great artist. You're a great writer. You're a great speaker. So you shouldn't be depressed. Get on with your job. This place is meant for you. The universe God has given you to his own children, that they should manifest him. Don't be afraid. Don't allow fear to run your life. You have to live your dream. Whatever you want to become it. You already have the whole thing. The whole power God has is inside of you. It's just because you don't believe it. Ask people who believed it. You will see how far they've gone. That's why you see people, they can build an aircraft, it goes to the Pluto and comes back. It's because they understand the power they possess. The same way, some people can draw something you would not believe that a human being drew. It was like a god. The same thing. Some people can speak like Martin Luther. You will never believe a human being is speaking like this because he understood that God has made him God. So whatever you are good at, start doing it. Don't be afraid. Don't believe the insecurity of another person will shortchange you. Get on with it. Trees do not eat their fruit. Rivers do not drink their water. So you are stronger when you have a better information, the truth about yourself. Always seek information about yourself, because the knowledge about yourself is power. Thank you.